Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry,
I'm Wayne Turmel.
and we're the co-authors of the book, The Long Distance Leader, Rules for Remarkable Remote Leadership. In the preparation of for this book, we surveyed a ton of leaders of remote teams, and in this video, we want to talk to you about what we've learned about long distance leaders. Well, we did survey a whole bunch of folks and we learned a lot. And one of the things we learned surprised us is that in general, the leaders of remote teams that we spoke to said, well, things are fine. Things are going okay.
Yeah, and as somebody who's been married a long time, we all know that, well, it's fine can be a fairly loaded statement.
Yeah, because what we really believe is that fine isn't good enough. Because, you know, if you're watching us now and you have interest in this, you know that you want to be better than fine. And what we found is that there's a ton of things that leaders know how to do that have to be mediated or shifted or nuanced when we're doing it at a distance. And for the most part, they just don't know how to do it better. So fine isn't good enough. Your organization deserves better, your team members deserve better, and you as an individual leader deserve better. But beyond the fine comment, we learned some other stuff too.
Well, the fact that it's fine kind of hides the fact that there is a lot of stress there. One of the reasons that people are making it work, even in this new kind of unexplored world of remote working, is they're putting a lot more stress on themselves. We're connected 24/7. We work longer hours because
Pedaling faster.
we're pedaling faster to get the same results. And we're not always sure that we know what we're doing. And, you know, I can't see what's going out there. I'm trusting that my people are doing what they're supposed to do, but I don't really know. And that's stressful. And so that stress makes the fact that they're doing fine ultimately kind of unsustainable, because at some point we find ourselves getting burned out or unproductive or getting cranky and damaging work relationships. So, you know, the stress is heightened. Maybe it doesn't have to, but it fairly often does.
You know, the next thing that the survey found is that doubts exist. Leaders have doubts about how they're doing. That's part of the stress. But what are some of the things that they're doubting?
They're doubting themselves, for example, when we get an idea. You know, when we're at work, we'll say, hey, what do you think about this? Or we'll call somebody. If I'm sitting in my house by myself, I'm bouncing around the idea, but I have nobody saying, hey, that's a really good idea, or that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, think of something else. We don't know, right? We're not getting the feedback that we need in order to be responsive. When we send out an email.
Well, and if we ask for that feedback, it feels very differently in an email coming from the boss. What do you guys think of this? Than looking over someone's cubicle or just walking down the hall.
Sure, and when we send out an email, did people read it? Did they read it correctly? Did they take the right tone? Are they going to act on it the way we want them to? I don't know. I hit send. I told them.
Yeah. Well, speaking of email, that's just one of the technologies, right? And the reality is our survey also told us that technology is a constraint.
And it's funny because it is a constraint. It's not necessarily a barrier. You know, when we work remotely, the first rule is that we need to think leadership first and location second. I always like to say, you know, Genghis Khan ruled half the known world and never held a WebEx meeting.
He didn't have email either, I don't think.
He didn't, but the corollary is he would have used them had they been available. So the fact is that we have these tools at our disposal, and yes, you know, we're forced to use technology because we can't be face-to-face. And if we leverage the technology and choose the right tools for the right job, we can mitigate a lot of those problems.
And that's the big one, right? Right tools for the right job. And that's also takes us back to two of the other points. We're stressed because we don't know what the right tools are. We don't even know that that's our problem, but it is. And we have doubts about, well, we got all these tools and IT gave us something else and what do we use? So it is a constraint. It doesn't have to be a barrier. We just have to step back and think about it, which I think leads us to the last point. Isn't really in the survey, but it's really where we want to land this video for you, is that you can do it. There's nothing about leading remotely that is outside of the realm of you being able to be successful. And you can certainly be better than doing fine, right? And so our goal is to help give you some of the ideas and help you apply principles in nuanced ways so that you can be more successful in your task of moving towards being a successful long distance leader.